Hello and welcome to another episode of at HC Highlanders Live. I'm Jason Muker, Associate Athletic Director for Compliance and Communication, joined by Athletic Director Matthew Webb as always. Got a great show lined up for you today, a special guest that Dr. Webb will introduce you to in a few minutes, but wanted to get you up to date on some things happening. Had our first snowstorm of the year, snowfall, I guess. But today we were outside doing some stuff on our new disc golf course, and that might be a news update that
Yeah,
we'll hear from. But 70 degrees out, beautiful. It's amazing the changes in temperature and weather conditions here in New York. And it's supposed to be like this for the next few days. So we're happy to have that. And as our teams continue a few of the teams continuing their outdoor practices. Monday was a little bit interesting, and yesterday was a little cold, but today be beautiful for our teams that are still practicing outside, and also for some of our teams that are practicing inside and are forced to have the doors open while they practice for ventilation purposes. But teams are kind of wrapping up their fall practice seasons. Some news. We haven't reported on this lately, but news from the NCAA is there's been a blanket waiver approved for all NCAA Division III student athletes, and I think it's across the board now, all three divisions, that the 2020-21 seasons are not going to count for athlete eligibility purposes. So an athlete who participates up to the maximum allowable games, which most schools will not reach due to COVID-19, for those that are going to be competing, they'll get this year back. So it's not going to count against athletes, which makes some interesting decisions with seniors and even down to the freshmen. I mean, getting that year back might be an opportunity for student athletes to come back. And the NCAA had already granted continuing eligibility for spring athletes after the spring seasons were canceled last year. And so we already have some student athletes who chose to do that. Either they did not graduate, or they chose to pursue another major or our MBA program. And so we had some athletes choosing that route. And we'll see how this unfolds as athletes kind of contemplate their future and whether or not they want to stick around for another year of athletic eligibility. Not a lot of other news across the departments and decisions. Some discussions going on in the conference level. Other conferences across the country are spring competition seasons are still planning to move forward with winter and spring and fall all happening in that same time frame this spring. But so we're hopeful that that's going to occur. And I'll let Matt talk a little bit more about some of those other developments and introduce tonight's guest.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. So, as Jason said, the NCAA legislation that came out about the across the board waiver really is just a positive step that just gives our student athletes some options, and so it obviously would mean deciding to come back to school, and it's an investment in order to do that. But given just the disruption of COVID on our athletic seasons across the board this entire year and last spring, it just provides opportunity for student athletes to make decisions and if they want to return, and they don't lose a season of eligibility by what they're doing this year, regardless of how many games we get in and play. So it's really a positive move for our student athletes, and we're appreciative of that. And actually, the initiative for that happening came from our conference. Our commissioner, Chuck Matrano, was instrumental in getting that moving and forward and proposing that to the NCAA. So we're really thankful for that. And we've got good leadership in our conference, and we're appreciative of that. So, and Jason mentioned our disc golf course, and we were just out earlier today putting the finishing touches on our second disc golf course on our campus. And disc golf is really it's a bit of a peripheral activity sport that's growing a lot. It's particularly gained a lot of momentum during this time of COVID because it's outside, it's out on trails or in the woods, and there's a lot of recreational courses around the country. And there are a number of schools and universities and so forth that might have a disc golf course on their campus. But one of the things that, without doing a whole lot of research, I wouldn't be surprised if Houghton might be the only institution in the country with 2 disc golf courses on our campus. And I think it positions us pretty uniquely to be a destination. We've got some finishing touches we still need to do on both courses relative to just appropriate signage and so forth. But it's been a draw this past summer and fall. People are coming from all over to find our course. And now that we've got 2 courses, very different style courses, it's going to be, I think, even more of a draw. And I think the hope is that once we get the finishing touches with signage and so forth, that we'll be able to host some tournaments and events, develop and expand our club and opportunities for our own students to potentially do some traveling and go into tournaments, sort of representing Houghton in the club golf scene, disc golf scene. So pretty unique, and we're really excited about it. It's a lot of fun. So it's a good activity to get out, go for a walk, and throw a frisbee disc around while you're doing it. It's really a lot of fun. So it's my pleasure this evening to introduce our guest. Chloe Esch is a sophomore student athlete at Houghton, but she's a transfer, so this is her first year here at Houghton. And Chloe is a member of our women's tennis team and our women's lacrosse team. And Chloe is originally from Buffalo, New York, Buffalo area, and spent her first year at the University of Tampa in Florida playing club ice hockey. So we want to get a little bit of background, Chloe, on, you went, I understand the draw to go down to Florida, having grown up in Buffalo, right? So I guess I'd be curious to know why that decision to go down to University of Tampa, and maybe what transpired in your year there that sort of led you to come back to the Northeast and closer to home, and specifically to Houghton. How'd you end up here at Houghton?
Yeah, so thanks for having me. I grew up in the Buffalo area, and I actually, as a kid, I moved around a lot with my family. So I was born in Buffalo, was raised there for my younger years, and then I spent a few years in Florida, and then we moved back to Buffalo. So I was kind of familiar with the state, and so my senior year of high school, I applied to the early acceptance program for LECOM, Lake Erie College of Osteopathic Medicine. And so I got accepted to that program. So then when I was looking for colleges, I was looking at schools that are affiliated with LECOM, and Tampa was one of them. So it was always something that was on my mind. I applied to a lot of schools. I have a twin brother who is in the same program, and he chose to go to Tampa before I made my decision. And then my parents told us that they're moving to Tampa. So I just thought, my family's going to be there. It's a great school. I visited the campus. It's beautiful. Great academics. I just thought it made sense. And so I went to Tampa. I can't say anything bad about the school. It's awesome. It just wasn't a great fit for me. My twin brother is having the time of his life there. He loves it. He's doing awesome. So it's a great school. It just wasn't the best fit for me. I played club ice hockey, like you said, and that was so much fun. The girls were awesome, but I just really missed being like really competitive. Sports were a big part of my life in high school, and it just wasn't really the same. So I felt like that was missing. I also really missed the Western New York area. I love the Four Seasons. It feels like home up here. So I just missed that a lot. But again, Tampa's an awesome city, and it just wasn't the best fit for me. And then when Tom Brady signed with the Bucks, I was like, I can't live in the city of Tom Brady. So that's really what did it for me.
I'm assuming you're a Bills fan from
Big Bills fan.
Yeah. Okay. So I get it. Yeah. So your family's in Tampa now? Your family's not actually in Buffalo anymore?
Yeah, they're in Tampa. They live like super close to the campus. So I was able to go home a lot, which was super nice. But yeah, I did really miss Western New York. So I kind of knew around May after my freshman year that I was really kind of looking to transfer. So I started doing some research just on schools that were affiliated with LECOM, and that I could potentially play a sport or two at, because I did miss that a lot. So I started looking at Houghton. Before I applied, I emailed Coach McGrainer, the tennis coach, and she just immediately made me feel so welcomed and just gave me so much information and just would talk to me on the phone, and she was just amazing and just really gave me clarity on made me realize, yes, I would love to come to Houghton and transfer. And Houghton was the only school that I applied to when I was looking to transfer. I just thought that it would be a really good fit for me, even though it was kind of scary leaving my family and my twin. It was really nice having him at the same school, but I'm just really happy that I made the decision to come here. It's just one of the main things that drew me to Houghton was that, like, the centered around God, and I'd never really had that, so it was just a big draw for me to come here, and I'm just so happy that I'm here.
So coming from Buffalo, were you familiar with Houghton at all prior to going to Tampa?
So I'd never been here. My brother ran cross country and track all throughout high school, so he had a lot of his, like, indoor track meets here. So he would just tell me that it was really nice, and I'd never toured or anything before I decided to come here. So it was a little scary, but I definitely heard about it and heard great things about it.
So being a twin, that resonates with me. I have 2 sets of twins as children myself. You would know one of them because Tobias and Levi are on the men's tennis team.
Yeah.
But then I have daughters that are twins also that are older, graduated from Houghton already. So you have a twin brother. How often growing up did you get the question, so are you guys identical or fraternal twins? Did you ever get that question?
Oh, all the time.
And the response, like, do you think we look identical? Do you think we look alike? Like, I haven't seen your brother. I'm sure you look like brother and sister, but I always think it's funny that my twins, my daughters are identical, but my sons are fraternal. So in any case, so talk to me about sports. So I'm assuming growing up, you played ice hockey, you played lacrosse, you played tennis. What other, did you play other sports, or were those your 3 primary sports?
Those are my 3 main sports. I started, so when I moved to Florida the first time for a few years, that's when I started playing tennis. I was probably around 10, and it was just so much fun. I fell in love with it. And then it was hard. I didn't play hockey till like 8th grade, till I was back in Buffalo. So my dad was really into hockey, and I just also love the Buffalo Sabres. So I was just like, let's play this. So I started playing pretty late, but it was just so much fun. I played for my high school, and it was just awesome. And then lacrosse, I played tennis in the fall, hockey in the winter, and then I wanted to play a spring sport too. And so I didn't pick up a lacrosse stick until my freshman year of high school, which was kind of scary, but I just fell in love with it, and it's just so much fun. I've met so many amazing people through the sport. So yeah, those are my 3 main sports, and they're all so different, and I love all of them so much.
So you're a Sabres fan also. Not quite as fun to be a Sabres fan these days as it is.
Not right now.
But so it's sort of interesting. So you learned tennis in Florida. You learned hockey up here, yet you went down to Florida to play hockey, and now you've come back up north to play tennis and lacrosse. So talk with us a little bit about how it's obviously very different. University of Tampa and Houghton are going to be very, very different types of institutions, but talk with us about just sort of the transition from Tampa to now Houghton. We're much smaller, rural, Christian school. What's it been like for you, and what have you enjoyed most about sort of the transition to Houghton?
Yeah, so they're pretty much complete opposites. Tampa's right in the city, bigger school. The class sizes were definitely bigger. One thing that I've noticed about Houghton is that you're in the same classes with a lot of other students, and it's just I love that because you're able to get to know them and just work together on things with them. Also, the professors have been amazing. It's really cool. They're really approachable since it is such a small school, and I love how rural it is. I don't know. I just think it's so beautiful here, and it's so different, but I love it. And yeah, it was definitely a big transition, but I think one of the really helpful things is I was able to I live with the field hockey team, and they really helped me get accustomed to it here, and they've just helped me with so much. I was just so thankful that they let me just slither into their house. They've welcomed me, and can't say enough amazing things about them. They're crazy, but they've made this transition so nice for me. And yeah, it could have been like, I just feel so lucky and blessed to have met them, and just, they've helped me with
Sure.
everything.
Yeah, that's great. My thing with the field hockey team, do they talk a lot? Is it hard to have conversation with that crew?
Yeah, they don't stop talking. But
Exactly,
it's awesome. They don't
exactly.
care if it's 1 a.m. or 6 a.m. They don't stop. But I love that.
Yeah. I had the team over to my house last year
Uh-huh.
and was doing devotions for the field hockey team. And I think we sat on the deck for 45 minutes before I said a word. They just, and I looked at Coach Ogden and I said, do you still need me to share anything? Because they just were yapping away. It was great. Just a lot of energy in
Yeah,
that
they're
group.
great.
So you've sort of gotten back into tennis after a year or so off, and back into lacrosse after a year or so off. Just talk with us a little bit about being on the tennis team with Coach McGrainer, being on the lacrosse team, and you're done with your tennis practice this fall.
Yeah.
Lacrosse, I think, is this the last? I think this is the last week for lacrosse. So just talk with us about just getting acclimated into those two new teams with new teammates, new coaches. How's that been?
Yeah, it's definitely a little scary at first coming into new team, especially this year. Everything's kind of weird, but right away the tennis team was so welcoming. Coach McGrainer's awesome. Our assistant coach Zach is awesome too. Yeah, they really made this easy, like coming in as a new person. We had so much fun this fall with tennis practices. We practiced with the men's team too, which was really cool just to meet so many new people. I'm I'm really excited for the spring and to finally play matches, because it was so fun, especially after not playing for a while competitively, to just get back and play points. It was just so much fun. And lacrosse has been really fun too. Just also scary going in and not really knowing anyone, but two girls, Zoe Casper and Zoe Modesto, who I live with, play field hockey and lacrosse too. So it's been really nice to have them kind of help me go into this new team. And now all the girls are like amazing, my best friends. We just have so much fun at practices. We have Coach Lundeen, Coach Brooke, Coach Allie. They're all awesome. They know so much about the game and they offer so many different perspectives. And I've just learned so much already. And I just, no matter which practice I'm going to, I look forward to it so much. And it's been awesome so far. And I can't wait to compete in the spring.
That's great. That's great. I know most of your tennis practices were outside. Have you been able to get on the indoor courts at all?
Yeah, we played a couple times inside and it was so cool. I'd never played on indoor courts like that before. And
what do you think of our surface? It's different.
It's so different, but it's really cool. I like it. The sound the ball makes when you hit it, it's just amazing in there.
Well, and the surface, it's much slower. And I know there have been times where we've had a match. It's really a home court advantage, and because you're used to it. We had a match against the team a couple years ago, and their first singles player, literally for the first two games, couldn't return the ball because the player had a really low sort of swing, kind of an unorthodox swing, but he hit the ball really, really low, almost like underhand. But every time he was just anticipating it to skip like it does on a hard court surface. But because our surface is sort of granulated and it's softer, it sort of grabs a little more and the ball pops up. And he couldn't hit the ball. He kept framing it like he just misjudged the bounce of the ball all the time until he sort of figured it out. And so it is interesting. There's people like coming here to play because the facility is awesome, but they're not used to the surface because it's very, very different. And
it's different.
We're typically very used to it because we practice on it all the time. So
yeah.
Well, very good. Well, Chloe, we're super glad you're at Houghton. I remember when Coach McGrainer first told me about you contacting her, and she's like, yeah, she plays ice hockey. And I'm like, that you don't typically have ice hockey / tennis players. She played tennis? No, she played tennis before. Like, I think she's going to be pretty good. And then obviously you got connected with lacrosse too, and Coach Lundeen. And so I know we're excited to have you here at Houghton, and obviously excited to see you play both tennis and lacrosse come the spring semester. So thanks for being with us this evening, and have a good last few weeks here before we head home at Thanksgiving. And I guess you get to go home to Florida.
Yeah.
So you get to go home to some nice weather. We're all going to bunker down here in Western New York
Yeah.
for Thanksgiving and Christmas. So, well, thanks, Chloe, for being with us. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.